The following presentation is a production of Ride the Wave Media.
Hello, and welcome to the inner workings of the not-so-genius mind. I'm your host, the not-so-genius Amanda McCombs. I'm starting to get into a better routine. I'm almost at weekly. I know it says my podcast does release weekly. It's going to eventually. I'm getting so much better. I have been doing a lot of work on my health and in all the ways, physical and mental, and it's finally starting to come through. I finished 6 rounds of ketamine therapy. That was brutal. It isn't as easy and wonderful and sunshine and rainbows as everybody makes it seem to be. It is so healing. I am thankful I was able to do that. So I'm going to say that's my thing that I had to do to take care of myself for this episode is doing the ketamine therapy and going through with all of it, because a lot of the things that I went into, it takes a lot of mental preparation before you go into a situation like that. And it's, I have medical staff there with me. It's not just some like crazy trip where somebody gives me some random stuff. It's a process, and I'm thankful for my team. They're over at Rising Health Specialty Clinic here in Utah. They've been helping with my hormone therapy and just my overall health and wellness. And they're the ones that I'm not sponsored by them right now. Maybe I will be, but who knows? I haven't really talked to them about that yet. So I'm not saying this because I'm sponsored. I'm just saying thank you to Rising Health because it's really made a difference. And I really had to, it's getting down to the root cause of why you're feeling sick and not just taking Advil because you're in pain. It's making the pain actually go away so you don't have to take the Advil anymore, right? But on a different note, I'm going to spin to something completely different. I had the privilege of going to the Equality Utah Ally Gala. It was over this last weekend. I kind of went last minute, and I went alone, like by myself. Bought my ticket. Nobody was going with me. I don't know. I guess I've done it in a few other situations, but not anything like this because it was at the Eccles. And, I've learned, especially from doing the Mrs. Utah America pageant, that I learn and I grow so much when I'm put in uncomfortable situations. And I kept seeing all these posts about the Equality Gala. And the day of, I sent the post to my husband and I was like, I need to go to this. I need to go do my Mrs. Daybreak thing, and I need to go be there and just show them that I'm supportive. And I asked him to go with me. It's really not his scene. And it would be better for him to stay and take care of the kids anyway, right? So I put on my big, huge, beautiful blue dress because when else am I going to put that dang thing on, right? I mean, if you have ideas and you know when I could maybe put it on besides the pageant, because I'm doing that again, that's already clear, but I will come. Give me an event to wear a dress to, and I will go. And it's, really going to something this big. It was at the Eccles. Going to something that big alone is not something that I would do before the pageant. So here I am doing my Mrs. Daybreak thing in my big, beautiful blue dress, and I'm talking to strangers and putting myself out there. In case you don't know, Equality Utah is for the LGBTQ plus community. And I went as an ally. I have a lot of people I know are part of that community. And if I learned anything, because I've been to Pride and I've been to other things. But if I learned anything, it's I'm really bad at taking B-reel, like behind the scenes footage, or even just like any kind of footage where I'm just like, wow, this is a really cool moment. Because lately I'm just taking in the moment. So I don't have a lot of photo and video. Plus my phone died towards the end of the night. And anyway, that's enough. I'll tell you that at the end. Oh, but they were trying to raise money to help with policy changes and things to keep people safe. And I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, I think, and a lot of misconceptions when you think about going to an event like that. It was the theme for the night was, what was it? Enchanted World. That's what it was. And there were there were like giant dancing trees, and there were people with like, I saw a dude that actually had like a tree branch wrapped around his head, and it was he kept hitting me with it. And I was like, man, why does that smell so good? Is that a real tree? And he was like, oh, yes, I made it myself. Anyway, so it was so weird to put myself out there because a lot of people have no idea who I am or who Mrs. Daybreak is. So, and there's a big difference, I notice, between like me just going and showing up and me showing up and like wearing something that boldly proclaims who and what I am, right? And I'm walking up and down these stairs in this big, huge, amazing foyer before the party even, like, not the party, before the show starts. So there was like a party beforehand, and then the show, the concert, and the fundraising stuff. And then there was the after party, and then there was an after party. And I'm not that big of a partier. I made it to the after party, but I didn't make it to the after party. But in all of that, I did not get as much photo and video as I wanted to, just because I was so captivated and I was just enjoying the moment, and I was watching everybody and talking to people. And I mean, I should have had my phone out and I should have been taking pictures left and right and all kinds of video, but I just was present. I was there. I was listening to all the sounds and watching all the people and their costumes. And even though I was there alone, I was so happy that I went, and I was so happy to be there. It's kind of eye-opening because I'm used to being people who think and act a lot more like me. And then I step in and I'm probably the minority, right? And there was nothing but love. And when it comes down to it all, and there's reasons I talked about ketamine therapy at the beginning, because during my ketamine therapy, and while I was at this gala, I just really came to realize that a lot of what we really want as part of the overall human experience is to be seen and heard and loved, just as we are. Not like, I love you, but you should do this. Like you should believe and think and do whatever I think you should be doing, right? That's not what our lives are supposed to be. And I'm looking around at all these beautiful people that are so full of love and compassion, and all they want is to love. They shouldn't have to fight so hard to exist and to be who they are. And I think really, especially after struggling so hard to figure out who I am, I mean, I'm still on that journey. I'm figuring out who I am, because when I'm walking around wearing that sash and there's all these people that are looking at me and they're like, wow, I didn't know there was a Mrs. Daybreak. I have to be like, here I am. Yes, there is. I'm Mrs. Daybreak. And then I have to explain like how it all comes to be, because there was an interview I did. I think I'm going to do a throwback episode, because I was a guest on my friend Courtney Pearl's podcast. And I was a guest on her podcast last year when I was still new to all the pageant stuff and before I had started my own. And we talked about like how I became Mrs. Daybreak and how I claimed that title. I said, this is mine. right? When you put in your paperwork, I don't know if I've mentioned this to like my podcast people, you just write down where you live, if that's your preferred title, like if it your neighborhood or your city or county or whatever, you know. I did Mrs. Daybreak thinking nobody else would have it. And it's not like I went and did a beauty pageant. It was like, I just signed up and said, I'd like to be Mrs. Daybreak. And if not, I'll do this other one. And nobody else was Mrs. Daybreak. So I'm your Mrs. Daybreak for the foreseeable future. And I have to like, it's very interesting to tell people like, oh, I didn't have to do another pageant to do this. I just had to be like, I'm going to be Mrs. Daybreak. This is who I am. Man, it's so fun. So fun to figure it all out all over again, though. I have done a lot of healing with my inner child and my outer child, the whole person, right? Who says we have to grow up? I told Peter Pan that I was only growing up or pretending to be a grown up for the other adults because they don't need to know. Why do you think I was in first grade so long? Just kidding. It's because I was a teacher. Anyway, there were a lot of people from the community that were there, and I loved seeing a lot of the LGBTQ Daybreak crowd there. So, hi. If I ran into you and gave you a quick hello, it was nice to see you. And if you found me on my podcast, give me a quick hello. I'm going to start winding things up here, but you can say hi to me over at my Instagram, which is Not So Genius. Or if you want to like collaborate or schedule an interview, I'm totally open to doing that. I think that would be really fun. So shoot me a message. Let's connect. And you should check out Equality Utah on Instagram for pictures and video and any ways that you're interested in contributing to help and be a part of that amazing community. There were just so many amazing people there. I was in awe. People on and off the stage. It was just so cool. If you've listened this far, thank you. Take care of yourselves. It's a crazy world out there.